welcome back to Charlie's House Call Auto Repair. Today we're heading out of town to go put a wheel bearing in a 2015 Buick Enclave. We've done brakes on this vehicle and we replaced a wheel speed sensor. The computer stopped throwing a fuss about an open circuit and went to, we have no signal coming from the right rear wheel. So we did a quick preliminary inspection and found that the reluctor ring on the back side of the wheel bearing is basically gone. So we're going back now to put a new wheel bearing in. Come join along. $78,030 miles on the clock. Let's see what we got on the fault report. Scroll that down. Pressure sensors, rear differential clutch control module, and lost communication with ECM brake control module. That's because the owner has removed the fuses in order to get his drivability back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to graft that wheel speed sensor to this wheel. And we're going to rotate the wheel. And we've got no signal at all. Now that we've got the wheel off and the wheel speed sensor out, take the new bearing and we're going to give it a signal using the reluctor ring off the new bearing, and we're just going to run it by the sensor and see if we start getting any kind of a signal reading. If we get any kind of a signal reading at all, that means our wheel speed sensor is working. So we verified that we have a working wheel speed sensor. Now we can put the new wheel bearing assembly in the vehicle. Guys, a better example of what I'm doing here. See if I can keep the glare to a minimum here. We've got the wheel bearing sitting in front of the scan tool. This is our wheel speed sensor, and what we're going to do is we're just going to run this back and forth right here, right along this little magnetic ring. And as you can see, we're getting a reading on there now. So that's how we can verify that this signal is working, the sensor is working. Going back and forth across these wheel speed sensors. Whoops. Now, one of the advantages too to having the wheel speed sensor out is that we don't have to worry about damaging it while we're trying to remove the wheel bearing assembly. So let's start breaking this down. Get the brake assembly off and out of the way, get the rotor off out of the way, and then we're going to get it the 3 bolts back here. Take those 3 bolts out and pull the bearing out. Hopefully this thing comes out without too much of a fight. Now, let's get this top bolt out of here. I always leave it in 1 or 2 turns. And we'll try to get down here and get this other one. Get the ratchet on it. Alright, we'll be back in a sec. Now, let's see, get down here. This isn't going to work. Let's try right here. Just get that bolt the rest of the way out. And then we'll come back up and take out this top one. Be prepared in case this caliper wants to fall off. Well, we don't have anywhere to hang this, so I think what we're going to do is just set it up here somewhere, figure out a way to, just got to keep this up and out of the way where it's not going to damage anything. My brakes that I just did obviously aren't stuck. They just fell out. So I'll have to put the inboard back in when we're done here. So after having this thing drop the brake pads a couple of times and not being able to figure out where I'm going to put it, I decided that that stud right there, this, is going to be its parking point. That's where it's going to stay. Now we've already got the rotor off. We don't really have a way of securing the axle to keep this nut from turning, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bar right here and I'm going to put it between the studs. Leave these studs down here. And then put the socket on, but I can need a better spot than this. Right there. Now it won't turn and I can loosen this axle nut up. Probably help if I was on the nut straight. Sure that can move good. Let's get those 3 bolts from the back side loosened up. Those are I think 17 millimeter. Those are not 17 millimeter. Those are either 18s or 19s. All right. 18 millimeter socket to get the 3 bolts out of the back. These are in there at 129 foot-pounds, so they're going to be a little tough to get out. I might need a cheater bar. Yeah, let me grab my cheater bar. Let's get this up where I can. That one's loose. Let's get the other ones loosened up. I'm going to go beat the daylights out of my new wrench. Hit anything? Good. Not quite sure how I'm going to torque this one down when I'm done. I'm going to have to figure that out, I guess. You can tell I got a little bit of Loctite on these. think I'm going to bump this job up from easy to difficult. These bolts, they've got so much thread lock on them. They're fighting me all the way out. And on the ground, I can't get the angles that I would really like to have. Of course, if I had this thing up on a lift, I'd be getting this from underneath with some breaker bar extensions and all sorts of good stuff. This is the bottom bolt. This one's really difficult to get it going. There's the bottom bolt. And we got one bolt back here, the first one we loosened up to take out. Now, hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing from there. Let's see. Right there. Get this one the rest of the way out. Again, cheater bar. I have to do this all the way up. Like I said, this is not really the easiest job. It's not all that bad, but at the same time it's awkward. Fighting these thread locker all the way to the end is a little much. And just because I know we're going to have to do this, I'm going to take that nut off, take this bolt right out of here, and I'm going to take that one off, and that'll allow us to move this whole knuckle assembly down, give us more room to get in here, and it'll give me more room to get on that one bolt in the back that just wants to fight me all the way to the end. Let's get that bolt all the way out. There's the nut, washer. That bolt is now out. Put the washer and the nut back on it so I don't lose it. And we got that one right there to do. Let's see if I can get this. I don't have a deep well for this. Oh, the other side's spinning. That's not helping. 21. And there's the other nut. And washer. And get that bolt out. Or maybe not. Quite get it far enough because of the, there we go. I'll get this bar out of the way. Yeah, that was a little loose and a little sloppy. Yeah, I think that bar needs to be replaced. Maybe, I don't know. But in any case, get this as far forward as I can. There we go. Now we can look right down in there, and that's what's left of the reluctor ring. That rusty mess. Now let's get this last bolt out of here. Hey, last bolt. Axle's out. Let's get that out of the way. Now, and a little bit of corrosion in there, not too bad, but that ring is completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. Now we got to figure out how to get this baby out. Ouch. And like that, it's out. Sort of. Now I got to get it out of the backing plate. And there's our old bearing. And a really rusty, what's left of a reluctor ring. Let's compare this to the new one. Actually, let's see. That metal, shiny metal spot right here, that's supposed to be the reluctor ring. This shiny little spot right here, that's supposed to be the reluctor ring. I have a funny feeling somebody put the wrong bearing in this thing to start with. That's really weird. Because if you compare this one to this one, there's a significant difference there. So I think somebody, somewhere along the lines, put the wrong bearing in. I don't know how, or how that might have gotten wiped out, but here's the new bearing. Let's get this in place. Now what I'm going to probably do, start off with a guide bolt. Yep. I'm going to take a bolt, put it right through here first. Try to do that in another spot as well. Okay, now I can lift this back up, put this big honking bolt, well, we'll even use the short bolt for now. Alright, let's try to get this new bearing in here. Oh, I need to clean that up. Let me go grab a wire brush. Alright, I use one of these little discs. Clean all this up. Oof. Wow. Okay, now clean up on the outside. Now I'll take the old bearing just for the time being. I'm going to clean that a little quick. That's just to make sure that it slides in and out of here relatively easily. Alright. So we're going to have a little bit of binding. A lot of binding, I guess. Yeah, probably put some grease in here. And then we'll put the new bearing in. A little jug of red and tacky in the car. We're just going to put some red and tacky all the way around this. Just a light coating of it. It'll help with the bearing. It'll also help fight future corrosion. Put it all around the whole front end here too. Coat everything with just a little bit of grease. It's not enough grease here to really lubricate much, but just help slide it together, help cut down on the corrosion that's here. Now let's get this mess cleaned up. All right. We'll get some fluid film for that one. Get around that rust as well. Well, let's try to get this all back up in place again. I'm going to need the long bolt to go through. Get this one here up and in place. Sort of, maybe. Okay. Now, can we fit the bearing in? Now. Yep. Okay, let's get the bolt started. Couldn't find that last bolt hole. Back out, back down. Let's get these torqued while we got it down. That'll make it a lot easier. These are 129 foot-pounds each. Got the torque wrench set to 129 foot-pounds. This is going to be a little trickier. Well, before I bend or break anything, let's get this in a more stable position where I'm not pulling on the parking brake or anything like that. Ow! I'm going to put a nut and washer on the end of this for the time being. That'll help pin this in place. Hope that works. All right, that's one. I'm doing everything I can to keep all the pressure on that bolt right there. Ouch. And then last but not least, whew, bearings bolted in and my fingers pinched. More battle scars. Now let's get this stood back up and reassembled. Let's start off with getting the axle back in. Bolt out first. And get the axle back in. Alright. That's where the big bolt goes, but oh, here it is. And we can put this, oops, let's not break our speed sensor here. Wow. Good thing it's an aluminum caliper. Alright. Nut and bolt. Our nut and washer. That's on and loose. Let's see. We got the nut and washer for this other little bolt down here in the front. Wow, it's just becoming a royal pain. Alright. Gotta take top back bolt back out again. Gotta get the order of operations correct here, otherwise this isn't gonna go back together. Gotta put the bolt in before the axle. This bolt right here. Oh, what a stinker. Gotta get that bolt in, out by that arm. Then we can put the axle in. There we go. You need to stop falling down. You need to stay there. Axle's going back in. This is all. What am I fighting with now? There we go. Alright. Now, big bolt back through again. As the brakes keep falling apart piece by piece. Top bolts all the way through. One more piece to put in. Now, the bolt's sticking out the bottom. Put the arm back on that it needs to be under. Maybe. Yep. Wow. Come on, axle. Just enough. There we go. washer in on that one. Oops. So far. I wish you guys could see what I'm doing right here, but the angles are just not. There we go. Angles are not in my favor right now. Alright, let's get all of those bolts that are now in tightened down. And get all of this covered up with fluid film. Go ahead and put the rotor back on. Put the little screw back in. There we go. What the heck? Really? Can't even get a screw started. Alright. A little bit of dirt, grass on the rotor. That shouldn't hurt anything. Alrighty, now let's get the caliper assembly back on so that I don't drop it or knock it down anymore. Actually, I gotta put the brakes back in it first. Along with the squealers, the inboard. Oh, even the little metal clips. Oh, there it is. See, even the little metal clips fell out. Alright, inboard back in place. Outboard. Outboard's back in place. No grease on the brake pads. Set this down in place. Make sure your hose isn't kinked. Put your caliper bolts back in. These are 96 foot-pounds each. And these were 21mm bolts. Like this. That's 130, 120, 110, 96 right there, locked. Not sure how I'm going to get the angle for this one. Yeah, right here, I guess. Be careful of the brake hose. And there we go. Both of them are 96. And then our axle nut is going to be 151 foot-pounds. My torque wrench goes up to 150, so we'll max it out at 150 after I get done spinning it the rest of the way on with the impact. Unlocked. There's 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and off the top of scale, and 1. And we'll lock it there. Now when you run into something like this, usually anything that'll fit in the rotor, you'll pin it against the caliper, we'll hold it. It's not as tight as I thought it would be, but she's there. Now let's get the rest of these bolts tightened up. I do not know what the torque ratings on these are, but they're going to get cheater bar ugga-dugga. I think that's strong enough. And then last but not least is the little one down here. Yeah, that one right here. Must figure out something different. Yep, I'm not staying on that one with this, so I gotta go back to this one. And I'm just gonna have to be careful with this, I guess. See, the bolt's all the way up the top of the socket. So, really hard to get the socket on both the wrench and the nut. And let's see, let's cheater bar ugga-duggas. Let's get this up where I can use it. There we go. Cheater bar ugga-duggas right there. There we go. Now we put the wheel speed sensor back down in and verify that we actually have a signal reading now. I get the little 10mm bolt down into it. At least get it started. Let's go grab the scan tool as soon as I get this snugged up. And snug. Now, let's see what the scan tool has in store for us. automatically search. Read data stream, anti-lock braking data. All we're interested in is the right rear wheel speed sensor. And we're going to graph that. There's your graph right there. And now means to rotate the wheel. There's our signal. Just to show you what I'm doing here. Get this so you can see it. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know if I've got enough view here in the blocking the glare so you guys can see what's going on. But, we're gonna turn the wheel. And as you guys can see, we're getting readings. So we have verified the repair, we verified that the bearing works, and we verified that the signal on the sensor works. So let's get this wheel put back on. No sense in straining myself to death. There we go. There's no ring left on that bearing. And we've got all 4 wheel speed sensors doing exactly the same thing all together. So I'm going to do a quick U-turn right here. We're going to do a quick U-turn and we're going to pull all 4 of those wheel speed sensors away from each other doing so. Well, they didn't come apart very far, but they came apart. All 4 of them are there. All 4 of them are reading nice and smoothly with no dropouts. I'm going to call this a fix. Other than the seatbelt reminder, no more idiot lights. So if you guys felt this one to be helpful, entertaining, found it useful in any way, please feel free to like, comment, and share. Don't forget to hit that notification bell for upcoming videos. And most importantly, remember, you've got no more excuses. Pick up those wrenches. Goodbye, Enclave. Axle back, bolt back through. Come on. Oh. Why does everything keep getting stuck? Wow, I got everything all bound up right now. Nothing wants to move. Bolt's part way in the hole, won't move anymore. Top bolt's stuck in this hole. It doesn't want to move. All right. A little bit. Ow, 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 ow. Metal splinter. Ow, ow, ow. Blood. Blood. Let's show that on YouTube? Probably not. Ow. That's sharp. Old work shirts. No better use for them.